Hello Libra, and welcome to your insight video for January's powerful eclipse season. So these eclipses are set to be extremely transformative. Particularly the first Capricorn eclipse will be deeply shaking the foundations of our lives and asking us to deconstruct our old ideas around security and stability so we can come into a space of deeper ease and flow, so that we can learn to manifest our desires from a place of disciplined surrender, where we are focused yet not attached. And this is even more significant for you, Libra, as this eclipse will take place in the 4th house of your birth chart, the womb or the home space of the chart. And we've talked about this part of the birth chart before in previous videos, because wherever Saturn and Pluto are currently transiting in the sign of Capricorn in our birth chart is the place where there is a lot of growth, a lot of transformation, a lot of karmic clearing happening. And this has been going on, really since Saturn moved into Capricorn at the end of 2017, and is going to become more and more significant, more and more intense as the goddess of karma herself comes together with Pluto, the dark mother. And this eclipse actually sits sandwiched in between Pluto and Saturn. So it's an initiation into the energies, into what your soul is calling you to work with as we head into early 2020, when Saturn and Pluto will make their exact conjunction in this space of your birth chart. So Capricorn is very much about our material security, our ambitions, our achievements and accolades, duties and responsibilities. And the 4th house of the birth chart is traditionally ruled by the opposite sign of Capricorn, Cancer. And it represents our inner world. It represents what we need to feel nurtured and secure. And on a practical level, it can indicate our place of location, and it also deals with genetic and ancestral issues, things that we have inherited from our karmic gene pool. It deals with family, it deals with children, it deals with the inner child, and it deals with memory. If we think of this house of the birth chart where the eclipse falls as the waters of Memnos, or the primordial waters of the womb from which we are all born, and we know that water holds memory perhaps better than any other element. So when we see an eclipse there, we can feel sometimes like the foundations of our life are becoming unsteady. There can be a lot of change going on in both the inner and outer levels, as things have to be deconstructed, as things have to change form to make way for the new. So this is a time when we might be, particularly with Uranus also stationing direct in your 7th house of relationship at the time of the new moon, we might see ourselves needing to liberate ourselves from old karmic patterns, old obligations and duties to our family. We may find that we actually want to physically change location, or we want to change our home and our living space in some way, shifting out the old energy to make way for the new. We might look at issues of how we are giving and receiving nurturing, and whether that is in equal flow and balance. And it's interesting to note that the North Node is currently transiting your 10th house in Cancer, as we've talked about in previous videos, particularly the November video when the node shifted signs, so you may want to revisit that. But this node in the 10th house is reminding you that you need to feel nurtured and safe inside. You need to have a secure base, a secure foundation to work from before you can really fully step into your purpose in the world. And perhaps some of you are finding that the ways that you're working, the ways that you are being seen in the world are starting to change, or you're feeling more drawn into stepping out in that part of your lives. But it's very important to remember to keep the balance between the two. We want to balance our need to work, to have a purpose, and our need for intimacy, for connection, for nurturing. So we could really be looking around this time around clearing out old duties and obligations that are blocking us, or things that are draining our energy, or old patterns from the past. You know, perhaps we're having a shift in consciousness rather than physical reality with this eclipse too. So there are endless possibilities and ways that this can manifest. But ultimately, we are breaking out of our comfort zones. You know, we're thinking about letting go of what used to be secure and solid so we can move towards our future destiny. And it's very interesting because we've also got Venus, the day after the eclipse, coming into your 2nd house, where she will be joining with Jupiter, who again entered this space in November. So it's good to look back on those videos to see the underlying energies that are working with you throughout this 12-month cycle. So Jupiter will enter the 2nd house, and she will join with Jupiter on the 22nd of January here. And this is the house of resources, of blessings, and it's also the house of self-worth and self-value. So we can see that the energies here are very expansive and very beautiful this month. So this can be a time when we are starting to really think about our needs and honor them, which then creates a change in energy, which allows us to receive more abundance, to know that we are deserving, to know that we are worthy. So that's a beautiful transit that will be going on throughout this lunar cycle. And in a similar vein, we also have this Leo full moon, wolf moon, blood moon, lunar eclipse, everything moon, super moon, that is happening in your 11th house. So this eclipse will be finishing up the previous nodal cycle of eclipses that we were working with throughout the last half of 2017, right up until November 2018. And you might remember, you know, particularly significant, the eclipses that were happening on this axis, you know, shaking things up throughout last August. So we can also reflect on what was going on around that time, around the time of the Lion's Gate as well. The Leo new moon solar eclipse, which was on the 11th of August. Things that were set into motion then can start to come to fruition. So we're clearing up the lessons that we were learning during those two periods. And for you, Libra, Leo rules over your 11th house. So this is another very beautiful, beneficent house of the birth chart. It's very connected with our individual purpose, and how that individual purpose, how our individual dreams and visions can actually interweave with the collective evolution. So it's where, in a way, that we do our service work. The 10th house is where the North Node is for you, is where we kind of discover our purpose. The 11th house is how we figure out how to serve a purpose. So this can be highlighting issues, you know, perhaps because it is a full moon eclipse, it can be bringing up some emotional stuff, some release around these areas of your life. And it can also, you know, because it's Leo, it's this fiery, passionate energy, it can be also awakening you to new levels of self-belief, self-worth around what you wish to achieve. There may be some old visions, some old goals that need to be released so you can fully step into this authentic expression of your purpose and truth. And this is also the house of friendship, of connection. I like to think of the 11th house as the web. It's where we weave our web, our threads of connection. It's where we weave our purpose into the world. So sometimes when we're working with 11th house energies, there can be old connections falling away and new connections coming in. And this can be both online and in person, the spiritual web and the actual web. So those are the areas that will be illuminated. Perhaps there's some, we've also got Mars transiting your 7th house. You know, he's going to come into conjunction with Uranus there in February. But for now, he's kind of transiting the 1st degrees as I'm recording this video. And, you know, this can be quite a fiery energy in relationships. It can be quite challenging for you, Libras. You know, Mars is the ruler of your opposite sign. And he is back on home territory. So this can be a little bit disruptive in relationships. There can be, you know, you may be feeling, and my cat just knocked the camera over. Hopefully that's not too disruptive for you. You can be feeling more assertive than usual, which can be you know, sometimes a bit of a shock to those people who are closest to you and used to you being more of a harmonious, you know, peacekeeper type energy. And, you know, it's almost like you become an Aries in your relationships for a month, and you may find yourself really having to be stronger with your boundaries or really asserting your needs in your partnerships, not just romantic, but on every level. So perhaps around the time of this moon as well, there may be some kind of truths or explosive energies around that really help clear the air as well. So that's where we're at with the energies of this month. And I just wanted to add to you, because Libra, you are one of the cardinal signs which is naturally squared by Capricorn, where we've got all of this intense energy going on. So if your Libra planets are around the 14 degree, 15 degree mark, you're going to receive an exact square from this eclipse, which will have a transformational impact on whichever planet it touches. And also, if your planets are after 11 degrees of Libra, you will be receiving a personal square, a challenge from Saturn over the coming year and into 2020, depending on the degree of your planets. And if they're after 21 degrees, you will be receiving a square from Pluto. If your planets are before those degrees, you don't have to worry. But if they're not, you are going to be receiving alignments, personal challenges from Pluto or Saturn at some point over the coming years, which will make these energies feel even more personal to you and can be very transformative and life-changing. So that's worth looking into and just seeing which degrees your Libra planets are at and which planetary energies you are working with at this time. It can give you really, you know, if you're going through any issues, it can give you some deep insight in how to best work with those energies instead of against them. So I just wanted to share that with you, like I have been with all of the cardinal signs. It can bring so much clarity to realize what's going on if you're in the midst of a Saturn or a Pluto transit. So I'm going to finish this reading for you with a card from the Goddess Guidance Oracle. I'm just going to give them a shuffle. A bit of extra divine feminine guidance. Interesting. So this is Easy Does It, the goddess Una, who is Irish, I believe. There is no need to hurry or force anything to happen. Everything is occurring within perfect timing. So that really is a message, and it's, you know, Saturnian energy is very slow. on Capricorn energy. It's the mountain goat who is slow, steady, diligent and focused as he ascends to the top of the mountain. So this is really a message not to worry, not to try and strive, not to try and force, but as I said at the beginning of this reading, to come into a space of surrender, of having your intentions and having your focus, but not really forcing anything to happen, just allowing things to unfold as they will, focusing on the things that you can do to nourish and support yourself as you go through change. So thank you so much for listening to me, Libra, and you can connect with me further if you would like to by clicking the links below these videos that will take you to my Facebook pages and groups. I am wishing you a very exciting and transformative lunar cycle.